right, gotta do a sync. That was a good clap, good clap. What's going on, everybody? My name is Adam Swanson and this is Swanson Films. Today, we're gonna be doing a segment I like to call Going Through the Archives. So Going Through the Archives is going to be where we dive into one of my hard drives of the ridiculous, thank God that's a solid state. So Going Through the Archives is where I'm gonna be going into one of my old hard drives of all of the various drives I've accumulated over the years and others I can't hold because they're big. And basically we're gonna go through those drives and find a photo that maybe I haven't edited before, even if I have edited the photo and even posted it on Instagram. Edit it in a different way than I had originally edited it and try to breathe some new life into it a little bit. So let's go ahead and just dive in to the archive. Dive into the archive, dig into the archive. I don't know, we'll work out the titling sequence later. Anyway, I'll have it right here. All right, guys, we're getting into the edit here. Got this photo from my time in Alaska. A little photo of a lighthouse with some buildings next to it, beautiful snow-capped mountains in the background. Before I really do anything else here, I'm gonna want to go with these basic sliders over on my right hand side. But before I even do that, I want to crop. Cropping is what I want to do right now. So let's take care of that. I'm going to put it in 4x5 because we all know that's the Instagram square. Got to do it for the gram. Let's move it down a little bit. Bring it in. Let's line it up right with the house here. I think I want a little bit of water on the bottom still. Very nice. Cool, I'm happy with that. So next thing I wanna do is do a little bit of my basic correction. So I'm talking my shadows, my highlights, my white and black points of the image. So let's bring the highlights down just a smidge here. I wanna still preserve some detail up in the clouds if I can. I really wanna keep this kind of stormy look. So I'm going for a little bit gloomy, a little bit dark, dismal. Bring the whites down a little bit. I'll be able to bring the detail in kind of the foliage, the greenery, back later. So you're already seeing some light come back to that area in the bottom right here with the dock and the greenery. So pro tip, these arrows in the top left and right corner of your histogram, those are gonna be for shadow and highlight clipping. And those will basically tell you when your black tones get too dark and you're not going to be able to see any detail, or when your highlights are going to get blown out and likewise you won't see any detail. So example here with the shadows get way clipped out and they'll turn that blue, whereas the highlights will turn red as shown right here. So we don't want that. I'm just going to mess around with these a little bit more here. So now we're going to add a little dehaze. Now you don't want to do a lot of dehaze. A lot can turn into just a very aggressive image very quickly. So just a little bit goes a long way in my opinion. Anything really over 25 I don't usually do. Let's bring that to 15. We still have good detail in the clouds up here, which I like. I'm happy with that. And it's giving us some good separation of our mountains from that kind of stark white part of the sky in the background area. So next thing I want to do is bump up the saturation just a little bit. Vibrance, I don't use a ton. I'm just going to give it a few points of vibrance here. 2 is fine. For this image in particular, I'm just not going to use a ton because like I said, we're going for that kind of stormy, dark, dismal vibe. So vibrance isn't really name of the game here, but totally depends on the photo. So after we've done all of our basic corrections, we're going to jump into the tone curve. Now, tone curve is super important, guys. Now, it's essentially governing the same parts of your images your basic corrections do in the shadows, highlights, and midtones, but we can kind of make the base level changes here, and we want to make what's called an S curve. It's a pretty safe bet for most images, especially when you're starting out editing. Most images look pretty fine with an S curve, and an S meaning that it just makes an S shape with the actual tone curve line. So I'm just gonna bring the midtones down a bit more here. I'm kind of liking the way this is looking now. All right, we got something. We have that S here again. Now we're gonna jump over to the red and the green and the blue, our RGB tone curves. So these are gonna be able to really add some character to our images. And this is where your style kind of comes through. So I want to have the red of this kind of brought down a little bit. We're going to go more towards the blue side. So we kind of want to give this that cold, that dark, dismal feeling again. So we want this a little bit more on the blue side of things. And you can see if we bring it way up in the red, it gets really aggressive real fast. So again, a lot goes a long way with the tone curve. A little goes a long way. That's it. That's what I'm looking for. A little goes a long way. Now I want to just tweak the highlights just a little bit because that's mostly going to be our sky here, our sky and our clouds. And I want to just bring it up more towards the red a little bit here, just to give it almost like a dusk time storm vibe. Maybe there's a storm rolling in over this house around sunset. So the sky's a little warm, the clouds coming in are cold. Nice little color contrast here, I like it. Now I'm gonna start to play around with my green curve a little bit here. I'm gonna bring it down just a little bit more towards the fuchsia purple or whatever color you wanna say that is. Bring that down a little bit because it brings, as you can see here, a little bit of life, a little bit of color back into our rock face down here by the dock. And the water down here, guys, is really important. I think for this photo in particular, for the green curve that we're on, because water can be tricky to colorize sometimes. The sky is one thing. Skies are, you know, any number of colors, judging on the time of day, the weather, atmosphere, all that. But water is generally like just a handful of colors. So be mindful if there's water in your images, you're just coloring those carefully. You don't want to make those seem too unrealistic, but to each their own. So I'm gonna bump up my green curve just a little bit more here, and we're getting to a good place now with this. I'm liking where the photo is going. So next thing, we're gonna get a little more specific. We're gonna jump into radial filters, the fun world of radial filters. So you're just drawing a circle with your mouse, basically. It's click, drag, and boom, you got an oval. So you're gonna center this over a subject in your image sometimes, what I like to do, because you can really draw focus to a subject. And in this photo, we have the house, the buildings. So we're just gonna tweak it a little bit, just rotate it so it encompasses the main area of our subjects. And now once you have it where you want it, we're gonna deal with the invert checkbox. So as you can see, if we mess around with the exposure right now, it's mostly affecting things outside of this circle that we've created. Now we want to affect the inside of this circle. So we're gonna go ahead, click on that invert checkbox, boom. Make sure it's checked, and now any edits you make are going to mostly take place inside the circle itself, which is what we wanna do. We wanna brighten up that house a little bit, give it a little bit of a glow. So we're gonna bring the shadows around just a little bit, bump the contrast, really make it pop off the background. Give it a little bit of clarity, texture, so we have some detail in our image here. Add a tiny bit of dehaze again. Like I said, a little bit goes a long way. Throw some saturation on here. So for our feather on our image, basically how hard or soft the edge of the filter is. For something like this, around 45 is fine. And you can see as it changes as we move it from one end to the other. Maybe let's do like 41. You know what, we'll say 40. Now the other filter I'm gonna use here that I've already applied here, you can see is a graduated filter. Pro tip, if you hover your cursor over one of your filters, the red mask area shows up showing you the affected area. So I'm mostly using this for the sky. And really all I did here was I brought the whites down about -55, tiny bit of exposure reduction at -0.46. I boosted the contrast to 51 just to really make the sky pop and seem the shadows were heavy and there was a really stormy sky coming in. I bumped the shadows to 27, but other than that, I mean, you can see the edits I've done here. Take a screenshot if you like, but other than that, didn't do too much. I bumped up the noise a little bit just to have a bit of a more fuzzy sky. After the graduated filter, there's not a ton left for us to do here. I don't really want to play too much on this particular photograph with the color grading wheels or the HSL sliders. I'm pretty happy with how the colors have come out so far, so I'm cool with that. Now, the one thing I do want to stress is when you edit any photo, it's my opinion that we should always do remove chromatic aberration and enable lens profile corrections. Enabling profile corrections will tell Lightroom through the baked in data that's in your RAW files, if you're editing RAW files. It'll tell it what camera you use, what lens you use. That way all that data is in there and it can tune the photo accordingly. Also, especially on images where you're taking pictures of architecture, especially with like backlit scenes like this, where we have a lot of backlighting of the sky and the mountain behind these buildings, if I uncheck remove chromatic aberration, you'll see on the edge of the roof of the house here, and also on the edge of the American flag, there's that kind of pink, almost neon pink or purple line, almost a highlight. Now that will go away if you hit remove chromatic aberration. You see now it's gone. It's just a matter of light moving through the lens and it doesn't look good. Most people don't see it. I didn't see it for the longest time, but it is there oftentimes. So making sure that box is checked will fix that problem. The only other thing I would do here is on a photo like this that we are kind of theming it to be that dark, cloudy vibe, I want it to be a little bit darker around the corners. Now, some people frown upon the vignette. I personally like the vignette. Not heavy. I brought it to like 25. You can see it'll bring in, if you go into the negative with the highlight priority post-crop vignetting, it'll bring it in like that. Obviously, that's pretty aggressive. I don't want that much. I like what -25 does for us right there. Just a bit of darkness around the corners, especially in the sky. I think it comes through. But guys, we got a finished photo. I'm happy with that. I'm gonna post that on Instagram. All I have to do now is airdrop to my phone, Instagram. It's that easy. I know this is a long video, guys. Thank you for sticking with me on this one. I hope you learned something. I hope it helped you. If it did, drop a comment down below and tell me what you thought. I would super appreciate that. Otherwise, guys, thank you so much for watching the video again. My name is Adam Swanson. Please subscribe if you're not already. Smash the like button if you do enjoy that sort of thing. The notification bell does help you know when I upload videos and all that good stuff. Just have a good day. Night, wherever you are in the world. Hope you have a good one. I will see you in the next video. We got really cool stuff coming out that I'm super excited about, but I will see you guys in the next one. I gotta go to bed. It's late here and I've been editing for a long time, so good night.